said and been taught that the law of the Most High Elohim, Yahuwah, Father of our Messiah, Yahusha HaMashiach, that the law of Yahuwah is done away with, no longer needed to be obeyed. That is a lie and a doctrine of devils.
Shalom, everybody. I want to start with Matthew chapter 7, 15 to 23. 15 to 16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? It is not always clear what fruit is and how to tell a false prophet. Some are taught that fruit is a large congregation, feelings of love, or only the fruit of the Spirit. That's the problem. Solution: 1 John 3:9. No one who is born of God will continue to sin, because God's seed remains in him. He cannot go on sinning, because he has been born of God. 1 Peter 1:23. For you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and enduring word of Elohim. 1 John 3:4. Everyone who sins breaks the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness. The fruit that we are to watch out for is the choosing to disregard God's law. Everything else can be blended, but there is no blending the desiring to obey and the desiring to disregard God's law. You either desire to obey it or you desire to disregard it. It's one or the other in the eyes of the Father. And remember, breaking one law is like breaking it all. Mashiach Yahuwah Yahusha HaMashiach. Matthew 5:17 to 20. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Yahusha says he came to fulfill the law and the prophets. It is often taught or understood that fulfill means to come to an end. It is finished. 18. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one iota, not a dot will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Nothing from the law changes until heaven and earth pass away. Therefore, fulfill cannot mean to be completed or finished. Instead, it means to be made full, filled full of meaning, fully preached. Yahusha was the Word made flesh who taught and showed by example what the Torah or law meant in its fullness and how it was to be applied. Yirmiyahu, or Jeremiah 31:31 through 33. Behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharel and with the house of Yahudah, or Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, says Yahuwah. But this shall be the covenant I will make with the house of Yasharel. After those days, says Yahuwah, I will put my law, or Torah, in their inward parts, and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Some teach that what it means for the law to be on our hearts indicates the Torah in the Old Testament no longer applies. Others state this covenant is with the church, not Yasharel, and that Yasharel is not included in this new covenant. That is called replacement theology. Solution. There are two things to note here. Both verses 31 and 33 indicate who the new covenant is with. It's the house of Yasharel. So unless you are already part of or grafted in to the house of Yasharel, then the covenant is not for you. The covenant specifically states house of Yasharel and house of Yahudah. It does not say to all of the unbelieving Gentiles, nor to Gentiles who have replaced his chosen people of Yasharel. Contextually speaking, it only applies to the house of Yasharel and the house of Yahudah, of which we can now be grafted into if we are or were of the nations or Gentiles. If a person claims this covenant, they claim to be of Yasharel and all that it entails. This leads to the second part. The covenant, the promises, etc., are all made to and with Yasharel. This is true from the beginning all the way through Revelation. The Torah or instruction was given to Yasharel on how to live set apart as his people. If the Torah is just for Yasharel and a person is grafted into Yasharel, then the Torah is for them. Therefore, clearly, if one is a part of the new covenant established by Yahushua HaMashiach, then one is grafted into the house of Yahudah or the house of Yasharel, and is thus part of Yasharel. The new covenant is not stated to be made with anyone else. One either becomes part of the holy nation, as Kepha or Peter said, Yasharel, or one is not part of the new covenant. In addition, Elohim said that he would write his law on the hearts and minds of his people, by which is exact opposite of abolishing it. He established it. According to the Bible, Yahuchanan, John 3:20-21, Psalm 119, 142, Proverbs 6:23, the law is the way, the truth, and the life, and the light. That sounds exactly like Yahusha. Yes, that is 100% right. So many miss this. Yahusha, the Messiah, is the Word who was made flesh. Yahuchanan 1:14, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So if Yahusha is the Word, and we have Yahusha in our heart, and the Word is written in our hearts under the new covenant, then what are we saying is the eternal law of God? The same taught in the Torah is applicable to us today and written in our hearts. Out of our hearts comes our words and actions. Our actions should show the Torah in our hearts. We should be living the Torah. Ezekiel 11:19, 36, 26. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit inside of you. I will take the stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. Common misconception from many Christians is that we have a new spirit in the New Testament, but not the old law. Ezekiel 11:20 and 36:27. I will put my spirit inside you and cause you to live by my laws, respect my rulings, and obey them. What does it mean to have a stony heart? It's a heart that is hard, stubborn, unyielding, just as the Pharaoh's was in Exodus. As humans, our hearts are hard and wicked, wanting our own way. But Yahuwah will give us a heart of flesh, one that is pliable, soft, and one that seeks him and his ways, not our own way. This is further evidenced in verses 20 and 27 referenced here. We are given a spirit from Yahuwah Elohim that will cause us to live by his laws, his rulings, and obey them. This is not living our way or the world's way, but God's way. What is Elohim's way? The Torah, the instructions he gave us to live by. Yehukanan 14:26 tells us the Spirit will teach us everything. 1 second. Let's see. Reminding us of what Yahusha taught. Yehukanan 16:13 further clarifies what the Spirit will teach. All truth. What is truth? Psalm 119, 142. The law/Torah is truth. So the Spirit will guide us into and teach us all truth, the Torah of Yahuah, which is simply reminding us what Yahusha taught, the Torah of Yahuah. This is what Ezekiel tells us as well. So, James 2:14-26. See that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. Some believe James is saying salvation comes only by faith and works. Reread verse 24. It is not saying anything about salvation. The subject of this verse is justification, being shown as righteous. According to Deuteronomy 6:25, righteousness is observance, walking in, obeying the Torah. James identifies this as the works. One is not saved by what they do. One is saved by faith, as explained in Ephesians 2:8-9 and Romans 4:5. What one does, their works, proves their faith. Thus, if someone has no works in their faith, then that faith is dead. As we often say, faith is the root. Obedience is the fruit.